From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, nurses strike suspended after breakthrough deal with federal government. Nurses counter government say strike still ongoing. Torrential floods uproot over 40 families in Das, Bauchi state. President Tinubu challenges young creators to power nation building through digital media. And after Kyiv carnage, President Zelensky pushes for tighter sanctions on Russia.
On business news tonight, Nigeria affected as U.S. President Donald Trump announces fresh 15% tariff on global trade exports following the expiration of the 90-day pause.
On sports news tonight, the Tigers of Nigeria eyes a record 28-winning streak at FIBA Women's Afro-Basket semi-final clash against arch rivals Senegal on Saturday.
And from the nation's capital, parallel leadership emerges in the African Democratic Congress as a former Deputy National Chairman, Nafiu Bala, declares himself interim National Chairman of the party.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has announced that the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has reached an agreement with the federal government to call off the ongoing 7-day warning strike. Speaking to Channels Television after a closed-door meeting with the leadership of the association and representatives of labor unions, the minister says all issues that led to the nurses' strike have been looked into and actions have been taken by the government to address the situation. Meanwhile, the Nurses Association, in a statement, have already dissociated themselves from the health minister's comments, insisting that the strike is still ongoing and not suspended. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjohn, reports.
As the nationwide 7-day warning strike declared by the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives enters its third day, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, is meeting with the leadership of the association, representatives of the Ministry of Labour and other stakeholders to thrash out all the issues that led to the strike. This meeting is in furtherance of negotiations which started on July 29 between the association and the federal government. The meeting then goes into a closed-door session. The warning strike by the Nursing Association had commenced at midnight of July 29. The strike, initiated by the Federal Health Institution sector of the association, is hinged on what the union described as a reluctance of the government to respond to an earlier 15-day ultimatum issued on July 14. The strike stems from long-standing concerns about nurses' welfare and poor working conditions. Central to the demands of the association include enhanced allowances, particularly for nurses working at local government level, the rejection of the June 27 circular from the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, which is said failed to address key issues. The association is also demanding immediate adjustments to shift duty, call duty and staff retention. The gazetting of the Nursing Scheme of Service, approved since 2016, and the creation of a Department of Nursing in the Federal Ministry of Health, amongst other demands. After about 2 hours, the Minister of Health briefs Channels Television.
We've discussed with our colleagues, Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Association, and we addressed the issues that they had raised. And we're very pleased that they have agreed to call off the strike to put the Nigerian patient at the center of our attention. We thank the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, for his leadership. And we encourage all health workers to adopt the same pro-social collaborative approach to lean in to iron out very long-standing issues. Some of the issues that have been raised have been on the table for many years, but we're glad to have made significant progress, and that the transformation of Nigerian health sector will continue.
Efforts to speak with the leadership of the Nursing Association proved abortive. They plan to convene another meeting and come up with a statement. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
It's indeed worrying times for residents in Bauchi as floodwaters have submerged several homes and washed away property in Das local government area of the state. An immediate assessment by the Bauchi State Emergency Management Agency estimates that over 40 households have been affected, with many residents in urgent need of relief to recover from the disaster. Our correspondent Hajra Aliyu reports.
Drying what remains of their food supplies, clothing, documents and other valuables following Thursday's flood, which impacted 4 communities in Bununu West, Das local government area of the state. The torrential rainfall lasted for about 3 hours. Most of the affected homes, constructed from mud, could not withstand the deluge and collapsed under the pressure. Victims say they fled to nearby hills to seek refuge as the floodwaters rose.
I see all in room that in this house is water is enter. I'm there. I remove no anywhere that I will remove anything in this house. But I'm here. Say I will remove my children's only. I remove all thing, money, my food, fertilizer, everything. Water is going on.
Some displaced residents are currently taking shelter on a 2-classroom block at a local school.
We don't have nothing to eat. Today, most of us will sleep like that. Nothing in our room today.
These women and their children tell me that they have nowhere to go to. All the houses here have been leveled to the ground. They have lost their belongings. The primary school that was provided for them is barely enough to accommodate all of them. And right now, the weather is changing. Any moments from now, the rain could come again.
Amid the devastation is a man who has been living with paralysis for several years, and now his home has also been destroyed. He is currently being housed temporarily. A team from the State Emergency Management Agency has visited the area to conduct an assessment.
We went to the place where the water entered into the community. Is where those people that are working, doing the road on that side, they created a culvert, and the culvert is not containing the water that's moving at that side.
SEMA has pledged to provide emergency relief without delay. Meanwhile, the National Flood Early Warning Center has issued a forecast predicting possible flooding in 5 locations across Bauchi State between July 31 and August 4. Hajra Aliyu, Channels Television News.
In a bold step towards ending recurring fatalities on Nigeria's waterways, Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, has received the report of the Special Committee on the Prevention of Boat Mishaps in Nigeria. Mr. Oyetola, while receiving the report in his office in Abuja, notes that the safety of citizens on the waters is not just a policy responsibility, but a moral duty. According to him, the report will serve as a foundation for immediate and long-term reforms in the maritime sector.
It is my honor to receive the report of the Committee on the Prevention of Boat Mishaps in Nigeria, which I inaugurated on 27th February 2025. in response to the spate of tragic incidents on our waterways. The safety of our citizens on water is just not a policy responsibility, it is a moral duty. Every life lost in the boat we serve is one too many. This avoidable incident reinforced the need for sustained coordinated action to improve safety, enforce regulations, and restore public confidence in water transport. I commend the committee for its diligence in carrying out this assignment. I understand the work involved a careful review of relevant data and operational realities. The quality of the findings reflects seriously the future of this task. This report will serve as a foundation for immediate and long-term reforms. We will study the recommendations closely and ask where policy adjustment or institutional coordination are required in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, the FCT police command has announced the arrest of one David Moses for the alleged kidnap and murder of a woman, Mrs. Chinyere Anene, a 55-year-old school nurse and caregiver at a private school in the Dawaki area of Abuja, and a 14-month-old toddler. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the FCT Commissioner of Police, Mr. Ajao Adewale, says the suspect confessed to committing the crime with a friend who is still at large.
55-year-old school nurse and caregiver at a private school in the Dawaki area of Abuja, Mrs. Chinyere Anene, met her untimely death in her place of work, as one of her colleagues allegedly colluded with his friend to kidnap her. That attempt will eventually lead to her death and that of a 14-month-old toddler in her care.
I will tap when I'm ready.
With a heavy heart, the police boss narrates the unfortunate incident.
During the interrogation, an intensive and scientific one for that matter, David Moses confessed to the fact that he conspired with one of his friends named Sunday Jeremiah, who is still at large. He brought Sunday into the premises of the school. At the end of the day, the security man was able to lure the caregiver into the restroom of the school, where Sunday hit her on the head with a stick and immediately strangled her.
Despite killing the victims, the suspects demanded and received a sum of 3 million naira from the family of the victims.
Tell us your name and what happened. What brought you here?
However, following a disagreement over the sharing of the ransom, the suspect was allegedly stabbed by his friend, who is accused of collaborating with him to commit the crime. The friend, who was still at large, reportedly absconded with the ransom.
When we are sharing the money, my friend now, that was where we have an issue. My friend now stabbed me with a knife and took the money and ran away. I now struggle myself and take myself to someone's house and tell the person this is what is going on.
On Wednesday last week, the principal of the school called me around 4:51 p.m. So she called me that the security in the school is nowhere to be found. And immediately I rushed down to the location. When I got there, I met many people in the school. And after that, they told me that the nurse and a baby, 14-month-old baby, is missing.
The police is asking residents of the Federal Capital Territory to be extra conscious of their security as the police continues to deploy plainclothes personnel around the nation's capital.
In part two, after the break, President Bola Tinubu challenges young creators to power nation building through digital media. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nurses' strike suspended after breakthrough deal with the federal government. Nurses, however, counter the government, say strike still ongoing. Torrential floods uproot over 40 families in Das, Bauchi State. President Tinubu challenges young creators to power nation building through digital media. And after Kiev carnage, President Zelensky pushes for tighter sanctions on Russia. Residents of areas such as Abaronje, Igondo Road, Omoboriwo and others on the outskirts of Lagos can now look forward to the availability of electricity courtesy of Ikeja Electric, in spite of the scheduled maintenance being conducted by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, which will result in planned power outages in parts of Lagos. Minister of Power, Mr. Adebayo Adelabu, while commissioning the new 1x15 Kwaro injection substation in Ikotun, Lagos, built for that purpose, has acknowledged the TCN's program, saying it is part of the federal government's broader strategy to strengthen the national grid. Our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, reports.
It started with this circular seeping through the Lagos commercial undertaking. The advisory, anchored by the two distribution companies in Lagos, Eko and Ikeja, quickly triggered reactions, especially those potentially to be affected by the daily interruption of power. Perhaps for the sakes of customers like those in service areas like Agbara, Ojo, Festac, Ijora, Mushin, Orile, Apapa, Lekki, Ibeju, the islands, Aja and Ajile, and those in Abulegba, Ikeja, Akowonjo, Ikorodu, Shomolu and Oshodi, the advisory from the discos became necessary. But putting it more directly, the planned maintenance which is set to be necessary to allow critical work on the Omotosho Ikeja West 330 kVA transmission line is a TCN, Transmission Company of Nigeria's project. Part of the public triggers can be found in this phrase. Electricity consumers in Lagos State will experience intermittent blackout over a 25-day period.
We are waiting on God. Those people who don't have generator, they have to abide with it.
Don't even know how can we cope. I don't know. Not everybody can afford to buy fuel. Like me, I have a generator because the fuel is too much, the cost is too much. I couldn't on my journey again.
Most significantly affected are the commercial enterprises and business installations where they're already seeing things differently in terms of lasting solutions.
An advice to the present government is that businesses, market hubs, you can provide a unique solution in terms of the grid that probably they will need. And when you do this, do you know the advantage? The advantage is that, number one, you get that revenue back. The discos is a business. We'll still pay for them. If you provide, power grids for them and you provide uninterrupted power for them, it will double the growth of the economy, I assure you.
The TCN seem to have their jobs cut out for them, but still have strong words for the distribution companies in what it considers as exaggerated publications.
It's unfortunate that the disco took it to the high. That is not the true reflection of what is going to happen. When you're talking about outage, when we say outage, everybody might not have light, or the quantity of the supply will be reduced. And when we are talking of this quantity of supply, from the planning we did was to increase the generation capacity of those, to ask them to come up with more power. Like Egbin, we asked Egbin to come up to more megawatts. If they have been on 500 to 600, as at this morning, they went to about 743 megawatts. So these are the contingencies we have made. But the disco portray it as if there will not be supply in Lagos, which I don't think is proper for the market.
Amidst the ongoing work and promised possible power outage from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., the Minister of Power is in Lagos to unveil a substation by Ikeja Electric to support improved electricity supply. He admits that the approved TCN maintenance work is by all means necessary.
The first is about the schedule, maintenance schedule and all that.
Yeah, by TCN.
Yeah, by TCN. For us to avoid unexpected or unanticipated service disruptions, there must be regular maintenance to our facilities. And it's actually better that way that we made announcements beforehand. People can prepare. All that is required on our part is to ensure that we accelerate this maintenance and the people are restored in no time.
Our crew also requested an update on the protracted metering gap, the effectiveness of the Band A policy, and more.
This is the metering. We are attacking it from two perspectives. There's the presidential metering initiatives that's already funded by 700 billion naira of federation account money. That's already started, and we have started or commenced the procurement process. Before the end of December, 1.1 million meters will be delivered. On the issue of Band A tariff, let me tell you, this is a journey. I've said this several times. Migration into commercialization, full cost reflective tariff is the way to go. But you cannot do it over time because of the economic status of Nigerians and the cost of living that we have. So we are doing it in bits and pieces.
It's the first week of the 25-day work schedule. The countdown to completion may well have commenced. The measure of work done will be clearly measured in the quantum of extra or more steady electricity being wheeled. Ultimately, it all comes down to how much megawatts of power the federal government is able to provide for its over 200 million citizens from the abysmally less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Political economist Professor Pato Tommy says the drop in headline inflation year-on-year from 34.19% in June 2024 to 22.22% in June 2025 is not enough to be celebrated, as the purchasing power of Nigerians is still at an all-time low. Professor Tommy, who was speaking on our political program Politics Today, also noted that the incentive system in the country must experience a total overhaul if there is to be real economic development.
If you are in hell and they move you to purgatory, have you been saved from damnation? Look, 30-something% inflation does not even begin to make you, I mean, what do you think? 30-something% inflation? China is 2%. If you come from 30-something to 20-something, yes, it's some movement, but how does that mean that your life has improved significantly? That's the reality of the matter. It had nowhere else to go but down. Where does 20-something% inflation get celebrated? Yes, of course, it is progress from 30-something%, but it hasn't assured me that my income is not being wiped out. Take a university professor. The government of Nigeria pays professors in federal universities no more than 500,000 naira a month. I assure you that they will get, if they really use light at all, they will get to spend 75,000 naira to 80,000 naira a week for a percentage of consumption of light. Now, if a whole university professor spends almost all of his income just to get a portion of light, how does he eat? How does he transport himself? How does he pay school fees for his children? The incentive system is so warped now. A PA to some politician gets 10 times what a university professor gets to play with. National Assembly people, all these kinds of people. When Professor Elibute used to tell us, when he was appointed a professor at the University of Lagos in the early 60s, his salary went above that of the Prime Minister of the country.
Our President Bola Tinubu has encouraged young Nigerians active in the digital media space to harness their platforms as instruments of national progress, urging them to verify information before amplifying it. Speaking at the Progressives Digital Media Summit themed Unveiling the Critical Role of New Media in National Development, the President urged them to build businesses that create employment, reduce content that reflects unifying values, and serve as positive catalysts for societal development. The President said his administration is committed to supporting digital innovation through the National Digital Innovation Fund and policies that promote a thriving startup ecosystem. He, however, warned practitioners to remain vigilant against disinformation and cyber threats.
Create content that uplifts those around you. Use your influence to foster unity
and not division. We are in a world where disinformation spread easily. Verify before you amplify, please. Let the digital space reflect the value that binds us together as a people. Honestly, compassionate, discipline, and patriotism. Patriotism is not about slogans and political theater. It is about what we contribute to the common good. This administration understands the importance of this new frontier. That is why we are making strategic investments in digital infrastructure and broadband expansion. We are committed to ensuring that access to the internet is not a privilege for the few, but a right enjoyed by all Nigerians.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria affected as U.S. President Donald Trump announces fresh 15% tariff on global trade exports following the expiration of the 90-day pause. That's on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back. The essence of Legacy in Motion came alive in Lagos as Chief Diana Chen's birthday became the focal point for an assembly of minds at the Eko Hotel and Suites titled An Afternoon with Diana Chen. The event in honor of the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Choice International Group transcended into a mere celebration, unfolding as a series of profound dialogues that illuminated her remarkable journey, pioneering spirit, and enduring influence as a global trailblazer and cultural architect.
It has been specially designed.
It's a birthday celebration with a difference. An afternoon with Diana Chen brings together CEOs, business associates, staff and management of Choice International Group, along with beneficiaries of the Silk Road International Fellowship Program, an impactful initiative led by Chief Diana Chen.
What was the drive?
The highlight of the event is a fireside chat with Chief Diana Chen, complemented by two thoughtfully curated panel sessions featuring the celebrant, her close friends, and business partners.
Wherever I want to do something change, to overcome the challenge of what I face in Nigeria, there's only one thing I can tell myself, that how I can sing something different, how I can create something for we are able to manage in control.
These sessions offer rare and intimate insights into Chief Chen's journey to Nigeria, cultural adaptation, her enduring legacy, and impact that extends beyond business and borders.
It takes a lot to build a nation, but I mean, everyone's got to contribute to the building of the nation. But it takes a lot to contribute to the building of a nation when that is not your, in quotes, native land. For Diana, it was a commitment to build Nigeria, and to build Nigeria through the building of brands that she brought on board.
A real true leader, I think, as the MC was speaking earlier, is someone who, as you interact with them, you see this is someone of purpose. She carries that every single where she goes, and that for me is the first thing that has been quite touching.
Chief Diana Chen is a woman of few words, but a lot of action.
Heartfelt goodwill messages portray Chief Chen as a leader whose influence is beyond the boardroom, impacting community development, creativity, and culture.
Yes, she's a businesswoman, but there are things she's done in the art space, in creative space, that, for me, a typical business person will want to tie return on investment to.
The celebration culminates in the launch of a special edition of Guidance Life magazine in honor of Chief Diana Chen, alongside the ceremonial cutting of her birthday cake. Chief Diana Chen's story is one of resilience, innovation, and unwavering commitment to excellence. From China to Lagos and the world, she continues to inspire many with her vision and leadership, leaving a lasting legacy of positive change.
So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayatunde. Well, from the nation's capital, we'll delve into politics, where a parallel leadership has emerged in the African Democratic Congress, ADC, as one of the former deputy national chairman, Mr. Nafiu Bala, declared himself as the interim national chairman of the party. The latest development comes after the interim leadership of the party, led by former president of the Senate, David Mark, was sworn into office by the party's National Executive Committee.
On Tuesday, July 28, the National Executive Committee of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, ratified some pending decisions of the party, such as the dissolution of the former National Working Committee and the swearing-in of a new National Working Committee headed by the former Senate President, Mr. David Mark. The meeting was attended by some members of the former National Working Committee, state chairman of the party, as well as representatives of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, who are here to monitor the swearing-in of the new executives.
We promise to be totally transparent. ADC will have zero tolerance for anti-party and any form of ADC.
Some 48 hours after the meeting, a former deputy national chairman of the ADC, Mr. Nafiu Bala, declares himself as the authentic national chairman of the party.
The constitution of our great party has made adequate provision as laying down in many clauses, articulations that subsections, guidelines, and how event vacant position shall be unconstitutional feelings. As a duly elected deputy national chairman of our great party, I assume my constitutional duty and responsibility as a national chairman of our great party, African Democratic Congress, ADC, today.
However, a chieftain of the party describes the development as an unnecessary distraction.
If for a year and 3 months and you as a deputy national chairman of a party, negotiations were going on, you didn't take a position, either for or against, if you say so, then it means you lost under the law, and even under equity you have lost, because equity aids the vigilant and not the indolent. So he couldn't tell anybody a story now that he wasn't aware. The fact that he has always been aware, he resigned voluntarily to allow the process to continue, but he was expectant of a particular position. When it now evaded him, he decided to take this course. So we're not surprised.
Since its emergence in June this year as a leading voice of the opposition coalition, the ADC has continued to contend with divergent interests, which analysts say could affect its performance in the 2027 general election if left unchecked.
Well, let's head to Jos, where Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has applauded the humanitarian efforts of Chairman of Stanel Group, Mr. Stanley Uzochukwu, for what he describes as an extraordinary show of compassion and generosity. At a high-profile event in the state capital, the philanthropist donated his residence for use as an orphanage. He unveiled a WAEC NECO-approved school and empowered over 2,500 widows and persons with disabilities with life-changing equipment.
The Jesus Only Friend International Orphanage Home on Rukuba Road, once marked by decay and despair, now wears a new look thanks to the intervention of philanthropist Mr. Stanley Uzochukwu through his foundation. From leaking roofs and cracked walls to fully furnished dormitories, a solar-powered borehole, and a state-of-the-art WAEC NECO-approved school, the transformation took less than a year. Every child now enjoys free education, regular meals, medical care, and basic amenities, all funded by the Stanley Uzochukwu Foundation.
Teach us entrepreneurship.
The tearful speech of a 16-year-old orphan, Mercy Luka, captured the soul of the gathering as she pays tribute to the man who, according to her, brought light into their darkest nights.
Just a few months ago, this orphanage was in a condition that words can barely describe. Leaking roofs, cracked walls, broken toilets, no learning facilities, and the most painful of all, no food.
Moved by the orphans' words and the overwhelming turnout, Governor Caleb Mufwang applauded the Stanley Uzochukwu Foundation and promises to give more attention to orphanages across the state.
We want to once again appreciate Dr. Stanley Uzochukwu for this wonderful gift of love that you have shown to these children.
At a separate event, Mr. Uzochukwu empowered over 2,500 widows, persons with disabilities, and vulnerable Nigerians with modern sewing machines, grinding machines, wheelchairs, and food items worth over 1 billion naira, all to mark his birthday.
We're going to ensure that we raise the children in the way of the Lord. We're bringing in trainers to come in. I just spoke to Fela Durotoye, and we are bringing in here to ensure that we train the children, because I always say what you see determines what you see.
We provide an orphanage wherein we give support for schooling, boarding, and other assistance, and also to make a commitment of providing your home as an additional space for the orphans. It's indeed a great work.
Mr. Uzochukwu also presented laptops to some high-performing SSCE students in the state.
A good deed indeed. Well, over in Kaduna State is also cheery news for smallholder farmers whom the state government has pledged to provide insurance coverage for them to mitigate risks associated with farming. At a news conference, the State Commissioner for Agriculture, Murtala Dabo, says the insurance scheme aims to protect farmers from climate-related risks and crop failures. In addition to the scheme, the Commissioner disclosed that the Kaduna State government has finalized arrangements for the distribution of 400 trucks of free bags of fertilizers and other inputs to 100 smallholder farmers across the state.
The governor, in his own magnanimity, has also said we should push to encourage adoption of insurance, because our farmers are very skeptical as to insuring their farming activities. So the whole of these 100,000 beneficiaries for this year, the government is insuring them. Insurance against some of the unexpected events. You know, we are all aware of the climate change. You could see sometimes it could be flood, and then maybe the dry spell. All these things affect the yield of the crops. So that is why we need to protect our farmers, especially the smallholder farmers. The commercial farmers can take care of themselves.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. Business News is next with Dominic Iwiwo.
Thank you, Millicent. On business news, U.S. President Donald Trump has officially imposed the 15% tariff on Nigeria and other African countries. A statement from the White House says the modified reciprocal tariff rates, which kicks off today, carry different charges for a dozen other countries around the world. This comes after Mr. Trump earlier slammed sweeping tariffs on its global trading partners, including Nigeria, in April this year. The reciprocal tariffs were later postponed for 90 days to allow for time to negotiate individual trade deals, with the deadline moved to today, August the 1st. The Western Zone of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, says tankers will no longer load more than 45,000 liters of products from October the 1st. The chairman of the zone, Chief Oyewole Akoni, who made this known to newsmen today in Ibadan, your state capital, stated that the measure was adopted in a joint meeting involving IPMAN, the government, and other stakeholders held to reduce the cases of petroleum tanker accidents. He mentioned that governments had also mandated all tankers to install safety covers that will prevent spillage in the event of a crash. Over 150,000 compromised accounts were recorded in Nigeria within the first half of this year. This is according to the latest report by German cybersecurity firm Surfshack. However, its findings also reveals that the breaches dropped by 73% between the first and second quarter of this year, from 120,000 to 31,800 incidents. While the decline is a positive sign, the firm says the total number of affected users still signals ongoing vulnerability in the country's digital ecosystem, with millions at risk of accounts takeover, extortion, or identity theft. From the morning market, we head to the stock market, which begins the new month with another historic high as bargain hunting continues for local equities. Inijo Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the bull's prayer did not just get answered. It got answered double. So today, the market gained almost 1 trillion naira. 948 billion naira is what we saw added to the market cap. And for the all-share index, yesterday we were praying for 140. We did better than that. We did 141,263.05. It's a whole 1% move in the positive direction. And it's because mostly market mover Boa Cement. It opened at 135, but gained 13 naira to close today 148 naira. It didn't do it alone. Let's look at the sectors. Then we'll see other contributors. Remember, we talked about Wema Bank. Their impressive result is still attracting investors to them. So we saw it gain today. First Hold Co had its downtime, but now it's recovered, rebounded about 8%. And all of that has brought the banking sector up 0.52%. Consumer goods also looking good there. Boa. Foods, not just cement, the food also, Unilever also contributed to this, more than 1.5%. Oil and gas, however, has its downtime now. Aradel lost a lot today, as well as O&O, Japol Gold. They had a lot of profit taking on them. But at the end of today, at the beginning of the month of August, it's a positive one for the NGX investors and the joy of the bull.
Thanks, Ini. And for the global markets, it's a negative start for August as investors react negatively to President Donald Trump's tariff on U.S. trading partners. Let's see the closing numbers for Friday. And that's it on Business News. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Simon Pusey is up next with our international news and around the world in 5 from our London studios.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
This is making our country very rich and respected again. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world.
President Donald Trump has announced new tariffs on goods from more than 90 countries after his 1st of August deadline to strike trade deals passed. The tariffs mean companies that bring foreign goods into the US will have to pay the taxes to the government, and experts say these companies may pass on costs to consumers. The new tariffs will come into effect on the 7th of August, except for Canada's 35% rate, which started on the 1st of August. Brazil faces one of the highest US tariff rates in the world, with a 50% rate on most goods. Negotiations are still underway with China, as Beijing and Washington have agreed to hold off until the 12th of August. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, says he and the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, spent more than 5 hours inside Gaza earlier. The pair visited an aid distribution site in Rafah in Gaza's south. Posting photos on social media, he said the purpose of the visit was to give the president a clear understanding of the humanitarian situation and help craft a plan to deliver food and medical aid to the people of Gaza.
The special envoy and the ambassador will brief the president immediately after their visit to approve a final plan for food and aid distribution into the region. And we will provide more details for all of you once that plan is approved and agreed on by the President of the United States.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for stronger international sanctions on Russia after a deadly attack on Kyiv killed at least 31 people. Zelensky said 5 children, the youngest aged 2, were among the dead and 159 people had been wounded in the assault on Thursday. Kyiv observed a day of mourning after the attack on the capital collapsed an apartment block and damaged a hospital, school, nursery and university. Pakistan has sentenced to prison 108 members of jailed ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan's party for their involvement in protests against the military in 2023. Violent protests erupted nationwide after security forces arrested Khan during his court appearance on corruption charges. Authorities have already handed down dozens of sentences in the last 2 years, but these convictions, which include a 10-year term for the opposition leader Omar Ayub Khan, deal a major blow to Khan's PTI party. Severe storms and flooding hitting areas of the East Coast have prompted a state of emergency across New York and New Jersey. Video shows rainwaters sweeping into subway systems and overwhelming roads. New York's governor is urging all residents to stay vigilant, stay informed, and use caution. Airports in New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia have reported significant flight delays and cancellations. A total of almost 50 million people in the US are under flood watches. The White House has announced plans to build a $200 million new ballroom, fulfilling an often repeated desire of the US President Donald Trump. The new ballroom will be built alongside a modernized East Wing of the White House, which currently houses the offices of First Lady Melania Trump and other key White House posts. The money will be donated directly by Mr. Trump and other so far anonymous donors, with the work beginning in September.
They've wanted a ballroom at the White House for more than 150 years, but there's never been a president that was good at ballrooms. I'm really good. When it rains, it's a disaster. People slopping down to the tent. It's not a pretty sight. The women with their lovely evening gowns, all of their hair all done, and they're a mess.
Listen, I'm happy to eat my cheeseburger at my desk. I don't need a $200 million ballroom to eat it in.
And dubbed the world's oldest baby, Thaddeus Daniel Pierce has been born in the US from an embryo that had been stored for just over 30 years. The embryo was one of those created and frozen by Linda Archard in 1994 through in vitro fertilization. Years later, these embryos were donated to Lindsay and Tim Pierce. It proves that old cryopreservation techniques still work, while also reviving the ethical, religious and emotional debates surrounding embryo donation. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's D Tigers head coach Rena Wakama is targeting a record-extending 28 games when they face Senegal in Saturday's FIBA Women's Afro-Basket semi-final clash in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Coach Wakama and power forward Elizabeth Balogun are anticipating a tough semis, but will be ready to go all out.
It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. Obviously, it may be emotional for some, but us is basketball. We know exactly what we're on a mission for, and we're not going to let the name on the front of the jersey change our mission or why we're here. So it's going to be a great game, very physical, very emotional probably as well.
Play Nigeria basketball. The only basketball we know how to play. Aggressive, tough, physical.
Nigerian basketball. That's all we need to play, and we'll have a great chance to win.
Governor of Adamawa State, Ahmadu Fintiri, has rewarded the head coach of the Super Falcons, Justin Madugu, an indigene of the state, with a 3-bedroom bungalow and a cash reward of 50 million naira for leading the senior women's team to a 10th WAFCON title. Coach Madugu, who was accompanied by officials of the State Sports Council and some of his kinsmen, was received at State House by the governor, who commended the team and the leadership qualities of the WAFCON winning coach. Unveiled a new trophy for the African Nations Championship Chen in a reveal that featured 3 of the continent's most celebrated football icons: Victor Wanyama of Kenya, Dennis Onyango of Uganda, and Tanzania Orisho Ngasa. The announcement comes ahead of the tournament's much-anticipated kickoff to be co-hosted by Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania from Saturday, August the 2nd. The 3 legends lent their presence and prestige to a special video release to mark the occasion, underscoring the significance of the new trophy and its alignment with the value of African football. That sports is back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pate, announced that nurses' strike suspended today after breakthrough deal with the federal government. But then in a twist, the leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives said the strike is still ongoing and it's not suspended. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tunde Balogun. You have a great weekend.